Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It's your guy, Boulanger. And guess what? We got sound. Yeah, I had to go check it out to make sure everything was everything before I put this video together. So I appreciate you guys for checking us out and hanging with us, man. I appreciate it. I really, really do. But in this video, man, we're going to address the issue that just kind of came to me this morning when I was thinking about the Baltimore Ravens situation, and that is the take is that the Baltimore Ravens have no intentions on letting Lamar Jackson go. Let me repeat. The Baltimore Ravens have no intention on letting Lamar Jackson go. Now, you might say, well, Belanger Lamar requested a trade. He has. But guess what? He hasn't been traded. And I'm going to tell you why he hasn't been traded. They don't intend on letting him go. Let me give you three reasons why. Reason number one is because they see his value. You see, all this time, we've been thinking that they didn't really value him and they didn't see um his worth to them, and which is why they offered him a low ball deal. But it's absolutely the opposite. They do see his value. That's why they didn't capitulate to his trade request. And that's also why they franchise tagged him. Let's go deeper. You see, Lamar Jackson requested a trade on March 2nd, as we found out on Monday. Now, whether that trade request came like pay me or trade me, or trade me or else, whatever it looked like or sounded like, it was made according to Lamar Jackson. And I haven't heard anybody out of the Ravens organization dispute that up until this point. Okay. So a question has to then be, why didn't they trade him? They could have certainly hauled in a lot of compensation, right? But they didn't trade him because they do see his value. You see, once I recognize what I have, at all costs, I'm going to hold on to it. You see, there's 32 teams, but only about 12 have guys they really consider a franchise guy. The Baltimore Ravens have one of those guys. You understand? And to validate my idea, I believe that all 32 owners have a verbal agreement, not a wink and a nod, but a verbal agreement that comes out or goes like this. We do not go after another team's franchise guy, meaning their franchise quarterback. I believe that is a verbal agreement that has been made amongst owners. You know why? Because only two teams are going to play for the Super Bowl, and only one team is going to win the Super Bowl. And you have to have that guy in place to win the championship. You do. And see, that would be the reason why a lot of teams dropped out so early. It's because they would be coming after the Baltimore Ravens franchise guy. You see, franchise quarterbacks do move, but only when the franchise no longer wants them. The reason why the Jets are going after Aaron Rodgers is because Green Bay really trying to get rid of him. They're done with Aaron Rodgers, in all honesty. The reason why Deshaun Watson ended up in Cleveland is because the Houston Texans made him available. He made a trade request, but just because Deshaun Watson made a trade request doesn't mean he had to be traded. They traded him because they wanted to get rid of him. You follow what I'm saying? Russell Wilson, the reason why he's in Denver and not in Seattle is because Seattle wanted to move off of him. And it looks like they were better for it. And so when you have one of those guys, I think league-wide, there's a conversation that has been had that you don't go after another team's number one guy unless we've previously agreed that he's on the market. So it's kind of like the conversation before the conversation. You understand what I'm saying? And so the Baltimore Ravens recognize what they have. They don't want to pay him what he's worth. Value and worth are two different things. We've made them in conversation interchangeable. We've been saying worth and value, but they're two different things. The Baltimore Ravens see Lamar's value, but they don't want to pay him what he's worth. And that's where the problem lies. But all 32 teams know what Lamar Jackson's value is, but they want to suppress the worth so that the contracts holistically stay low. Not just Lamar's contract stay low, but Joe Burrow's up next, Justin Herbert's up next, Jalen Hurts is up next, Trevor Lawrence is up after those guys. So in order to keep from paying what they're worth, you have to limit them on the value side. And that's what's happening. They understand how valuable he is to a team. They understand that if Lamar leaves Baltimore, even if they had the number one overall pick, it's still a crapshoot. But this guy's a proven commodity. And you don't let proven commodities go. Because even if you got 3 first rounds and 2 second rounds and some other players, their value still doesn't add up to a franchise quarterback. You see, I suggested a trade a couple of weeks back with the San Francisco 49ers. And a lot of people came after me and said, no, there's no way San Francisco should do that deal. And and I put in the trade Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey, and Trey Lance and some picks. But that's because people overvalue Nick Bosa. A franchise defensive end doesn't have the same value to a team as a franchise quarterback. And so what we end up doing as fans, we end up overvaluing positions. The reason why the quarterback makes exponentially more money than every other player is because his value to the team is exponentially greater. And when you have one of those guys, you don't let him go. And that's exactly what the Baltimore Ravens are saying. We're going to hold on to this guy at all cost. That is, and the owners recognize this. This is why, see, the franchise tag hasn't always been a part of the league. The franchise tag was included as a way to maintain players who have a value and you don't want to pay them what they're worth. So you can franchise tag them and you can franchise tag them the next year. So you basically could get on if a guy comes in on a rookie deal, you basically could get with a first round pick, you get 7 years out of that guy before he walks out of the franchise. On a second round or later pick, you could get basically 6 years out of that guy before you let him walk. Owners understand that. And then the quarterback position is exponentially so much more important that you don't let that guy go. And Baltimore has made that decision. That's why they didn't make his trade request known. And then Lamar jumps on the scene on Monday and blows up the spot. But you know why you hadn't heard a whole lot of people come out the woodworks to come get him in a traditional trade format? It's not about the 32 million. It's not about cap space. And it's not about, oh, we already got our quarterback room set. Man, stop lying. You telling me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers signed Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson is available in a traditional trade format? And well, we know we got Baker. Man, miss me with that. That's crazy. You telling me the Washington Commanders, they have Sam Howell in place on a low deal, but Lamar Jackson available in a traditional trade setting, and they're worried about 32 million? Stop it. Is that there is a conversation that when you have a franchise quarterback, which is the ultimate value in positions, you can't come after that guy unless we agree that you can come after him. Think about the context of the franchise tag. You can make an offer. Watch this. In the non-exclusive franchise tag, you can make an offer if you would like, but we could always match that offer. You see, that player stays in control over the team who tagged him. See, if you don't really value a guy, you let him move on. Because in a traditional trade sense, Lamar Jackson isn't tradable unless he signs the franchise tag. You see, the reality is Lamar Jackson is a free agent situationally, but he's not literally a free agent, which is what Bill Belichick said. Lamar Jackson ain't free. You know why he can say that? Because it's true. That's what the franchise tag was made for. Now let's go to reason number two. So reason number one, they see his value. That's why they ain't gonna let him go. Reason number two, while they don't have any intention on letting Lamar Jackson go, it's because they created an exclusive situation where only one team would end up with Jackson. Belanger, what are you talking about? I'm glad you asked me. Follow me. In a traditional trade sense, which is what could have happened prior to even being franchised. Well, number one, let's be honest, there was no trade to be made until they tagged him. So even when Lamar Jackson requested a trade, he wasn't tradable. He was literally a free agent because he hadn't been tagged yet. But when they tagged him in the manner that they did, they created an exclusive situation. Exclusive. When something's exclusive, that means there's a limit. And the Baltimore Ravens created a Lamar Jackson situation that was limited to only one team, and that was them. Walk with me. Let's talk about it. So get this. I placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson. That means a team can do an offer sheet, but they have to give up 2 first-round picks. That's no problem. There is teams that would give up 3 or 4 first-round picks for Lamar Jackson. Let me prove it. The Carolina Panthers, for an example, gave up this year's first-round pick, next year's first-round pick, 2 seconds, okay? And their number one wide receiver, who some teams were offering 2 first-round picks for him last year, which means in essence, they gave up 4 first and 2 seconds if you do DJ Moore's value to move up to the number 1 pick. So you telling me if Lamar Jackson was just, tradable, that a team wouldn't give up 4 first-round picks for him? They absolutely would. So Boulanger, why hadn't he? Why hadn't they, since you're so smart? Thank you for asking. They haven't, because the situation Baltimore created wasn't only they have to give up 2 first-round picks, but Lamar Jackson has no years on a deal left. In a typical trade scenario, follow what I'm saying. In a typical trade scenario, a player is already on a deal. So when he is traded, the team trading for him now has some negotiating power. See, they have something to negotiate with. Lamar Jackson, situationally, remember, is a free agent. So not only does that team have to give up those 2 first-round picks, but they also have to negotiate a deal that's going to be somewhere in the range of $46 to $50 million per year. Not even talking about the fully guaranteed and all that. That's I'm not even talking about that stuff. I'm just talking about what a team has to do. You follow what I'm saying? That's why Baltimore have created a great situation where he has to end up. Now, he may not, let me be clear, he may not end up in Baltimore, but he almost has to end up only in Baltimore. That's why he hasn't been offered a whole lot, because a team has to give up 2 first. Reasonable. He's worth that and more. But now have to pay him that $46 to $50 million. You understand what I'm saying? And a team that's not ready to win, it wouldn't make sense for them to give up that kind of capital to get Lamar and let him sit in a neutral situation for a couple of years while paying him 46 to 50 million. You see, so when you look around the league, look at a team like Houston, who has the 2nd overall pick and the 13th. They could go into a trade scenario, say, look, we're going to give you these 2 first, and we're going to give you a 2nd and a couple of thirds. They could get Lamar for that. Why? Because the number 2 overall pick guarantees the Baltimore Ravens a quarterback in this year's draft. But it doesn't make sense for Houston to do that. Why? Would Lamar Jackson make them a playoff team? Yes. But that's about it. When you look at the structure of Houston's organization, Houston has a new head coach. They have a new OC. They traded away their best wide receiver. And so now they're building a young team. Lamar Jackson is the type of quarterback who's going to command the type of salary that says we're ready to win now. Houston, Texas is not ready to win now. And there's many other teams who are not ready to win now. So all of those teams who are quarterback needy, such as Atlanta, Atlanta's not ready to win now. They have a struggling defense and a struggling offensive line. If they get they may end up back in the Lamar Jackson business, but as of right now, they're not ready to win now. They're a playoff team for sure. Would they be the best team in the NFC South? Yeah, they would. But they're not ready to win a championship. So you have the potential to give up 2 firsts and pay Lamar 46 to $50 million per year, but cause him to be in neutral team-wise for a couple of more years while they build a team around him. Yeah, they got a stud at tight end in Pitts. They have a stud in Drake London. They got some nice young running backs, but that offensive line needs a lot of work. Well, if you give up your picks, you can't build an offensive line. You give up 46 to $50 million, you don't have any capital to bring in pieces to put around him. So now all you got is Lamar Jackson with a mediocre offensive line, which is causing them to get hit more and be injured maybe more. So they're not ready to win now. So it doesn't even make sense for Atlanta to come get him. Now, some of these teams that signed quarterbacks, they should have came and got him. New Orleans Saints should have waited to see. Lamar Jackson joining the Saints, they're a team that's ready to win now. They got a veteran running back. They got a veteran left. They got a veteran offensive line that's pretty good. They got some nice pieces at wide receiver. He would make that offense exponentially better. That defense is got a nice defensive line. Although they lost a piece in Sweat this year, not Sweat, Davenport, excuse me. They got a nice secondary, so they're ready to win now. So he would have fit there. It would have made sense for them to trade for him. A team like the Jets may be ready to win now. Quarterback away. That's why they're after Aaron Rodgers. But teams that don't have an infrastructure that's ready to win, leave Lamar alone. Leave Lamar alone. And the reason why Baltimore, which is the first reason, is trying to hold on to him so tightly, is because they have a ready to win now team with a few more additions, and so a little nip and tuck here and there. They're a ready to win now team, right? So when we finish out our second point, the scenario that Baltimore has created is a situation that only they can win. You see, the exclusive franchise tag, right, means Baltimore bids against themselves. It would cost them $45 million in the cap, but that wasn't the issue. There's nobody bidding against the bidding with the Ravens other than the Ravens, right? In an exclusive. But when you make him non-exclusive, you cause the potential for other teams to have to bid against other teams. And then Baltimore could just sit back and say, no, we're going to match that. And that's why teams have been out, because they created a situation that's only exclusive to them. Think about even the name of it. Exclusive franchise tag and non-exclusive franchise tag. Both the operative words is exclusive. That's why it was set up that way. So I know that's another reason why they do have no intention on letting him go. They could have simply said, you know what? Watch this. They could have simply said, let's not tie up our cap space. Let's leave that $32 million available. Let's build a team with that $32 million that's available and hope that we can negotiate a new deal with Lamar Jackson. And whatever cap space was left, they could have worked it out to where they fit him in a base salary under the cap this year, and they could have rolled. They could have did more in free agency. They maybe could have got a Jacoby Myers. You see what I'm saying? They could have gotten an Alan Lazard maybe. You know, they could have already signed Rock Ya-Sin. You see, they could have done some of those things, but they didn't have any cap because they understood what they had. So they made a decision not to let him go. Reason number one. Reason number two is they still created only an exclusive situation where only they could win in. You see, that's how you know they valued him. See, we've been talking that they didn't value him. See, we've been talking that they didn't value him. I think I messed up my video, I think. But the reality is that shows that they do value him. You see, whatever you value, you protect. And that's what they've done. They've put him in a situation where he can't leave. No matter whether he really wants to, but he can't unless they say so. So if a trade come through and it's not what they want, nah, we ain't trading him. If an offer sheet come through, Lamar signs it, nah, we just gonna match. Lamar Jackson has no leverage. The only leverage he has is to hold out and sit out. But even the franchise tag has a deadline, which is sometime late July. And if he doesn't sign a franchise tag or have a new deal by that late July date, I don't know the date right now. He doesn't play in 2023. So that's reason number 2. And reason number 3, 74, 46, 74, 45, 16, 1 of 5. Now that sounds like a combination to something, but it's not. 74 is 74%. That's Lamar Jackson's win percentage since he's been in the league. Only behind who? Patrick Mahomes at 79%. So he's right there with Patrick Mahomes. 46 and 15. That's his win-loss record. 1 of 5. He's one of the last 5 MVPs. And Lamar Jackson knows that. And the Baltimore Ravens know that. And you don't let guys like that go. You see, that's what he's done for the Baltimore Ravens. He's done the work. A winning percentage of 74%. You can't get much better than that. 45 and 16. 1 of 5. Without a number 1 receiver. Without a super elite talented running back. See, he done this without a guy like a Saquon Barkley, a Christian McCaffrey, at one point Ezekiel Elliott, Jonathan Taylor, Amari, his name ain't Amari. What's that guy's name? Down in New Orleans. What's that guy's name? Alvin Kamara, that's his name. He done that work without elite talent at running back and without elite talent at wide receiver. Patrick Mahomes didn't do that without elite talent. And I don't know who's behind Lamar. And that's not important for this conversation. So why would the Baltimore Ravens let that go? Willingly. 74 winning percentage, 45 and 16, 1 of 5. Think about that. Out of the entire league over the last 5 years, the Baltimore Ravens have 1 of 5 MVPs. And the Kansas City Chiefs have 2 of the last 5 MVPs. So when you just think about this. Patrick Mahomes is right above him in winning percentage. And Patrick Mahomes is right above him in MVPs. Without the talent that Patrick Mahomes has had and without the coaching that Patrick Mahomes has had. And if anybody knows that, it's the Baltimore Ravens. And that's why they don't have any intention on letting him go. They see his value. They just don't want to pay him what he's worth. Reason number 2, they created an exclusive situation where only they could win. And number 3, his stats speak for himself. So all you guys who've been hating on Lamar, he's not a quarterback, he can't throw, he can't do this, he can't do that. Well, the man carries a 74% winning percentage that says he can. What does your quarterback have? He has a 45-16 record. What does your team have in that same time frame? He's one of 5 of the last MVPs. Does your team have one? So just stop hating. So listen, man, that's my take, man. Let me know what you guys want me to know in the comment section. I appreciate you guys. I'm your guy, Leon Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.